Welcome to the World of Horror podcast. I'm Mom.
And I'm Mac.
And this is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Fear is universal, but we are not afraid of subtitles. A disclaimer, the thoughts and opinions expressed are ours only. We have no credentials of any kind. We just like horror and enjoy discussing international horror movies. Also, these discussions will include spoilers. You have been warned. This week we watched the 2003 Korean horror classic, A Tale of Two Sisters, and the 2009 American remake, The Uninvited. In a separate episode, as this is the 5th episode of the season, we will explore some other films of director Kim Ji-woon for our deep dive for 5. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi Mac, how's it going?
It's going, Mom. It's going. How are you?
Uh-oh. I woke up happy this morning. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, does that ever happen to you?
Yes, it does. Not today, but it has happened.
I don't remember the last time it happened. So that was fine. I went to work. Whatever. Like, they want us to come in, and it's so dumb because I'm just sitting in another location. I mean, there's nothing.
What's the difference?
People can reach me on my phone and on email or whatever, all the time. But, I drove my car over there. I sat in the chair, whatever. And there was only one other person on the hall, so
Great.
Nobody's doing it. I'm just a nerd or something, so I'm doing a rules nerd. I mean, we'll be back in the fall. In fact, I just saw an email today that said they want us to do an in-person graduation.
What?
I mean, I have both my shots. So by the time we do graduation, I should be vaccinated, whatever. But so I guess I'll be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But and if I wear a mask, if I had it and I wore a mask, I be not passing it on to anyone else. But
Still seems like a big old gathering is not the best plan.
I know, right?
It's kind of like exactly what they said, like, not to do.
Did you say that France is now in lockdown again for 3 weeks?
I got the alert on my phone and I was like, damn, F. Yeah, I have BBC on my phone and it just
me too.
Oh yeah, it just gives me like random. I don't have it set up for anything particular. I guess it's just whatever BBC deems is like, hey, this guy needs to know this right now.
Yeah, I have Al Jazeera too, so I just get like all kinds of news. But yeah, schools are closed for 3 weeks in France, and I mean, I listened to a lot of COVID stuff, and they were just talking about how, the virus is just going to keep mutating.
Yeah.
So, we'll probably have to get vaccinated again in like 9 months or something, and we'll just have to keep doing that until people fucking behave. But they won't, so.
They won't.
It's really annoying to me.
Like, getting the vaccine, like, it legit, like, felt like also a shot of, like, serotonin, because I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe with this, like, things will get better, that's my hope anyway.
Samesies. Mac, I also wanted to ask you, what were your favorite movies from last month?
Let me tell you. This is in no particular order, I want to say. I can't order them. Actually, no, I can't. Saint Maud, that was a great movie. Literally 5 out of 5. Amazing movie. Audition, which I liked. I would not say that was a 5 out of 5 movie for me, but I did enjoy it. And Relic. Mm-hmm. Fucking 6 out of 5 for that movie. I really like that movie.
I'm so glad, because I watched it and I loved it, and I was like, I wanted you guys to watch it. And then, of course, I wanted you to love it. And so that
Yeah.
was really satisfying. But Saint Maud, Relic, and Somos Loci.
Oh.
Special honorable mention to Another Round. That's the Mads Mikkelsen one. Yeah.
Our friend of the show, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, friend of the show. And then, and I know you didn't like The Ritual, but it's still kind of kicking around in my head, The Ritual. Because, like, a supernatural monster is scary.
See, the thing is, I don't hate that movie. Like, it was just one of those where it's like, yep, this is a Netflix horror movie.
Okay.
It's, like, not bad. It's not 10 out of 10. But if you're bored, what could be better? That's how I feel about it. But it ain't no Relic, and it ain't no Saint Maud.
And Audition was like in the running for me too, even though I will never watch it again.
Yeah,
but it stuck with me, and it was. I think I told you my heart rate was like through the roof, like just sitting on my couch watching it. So, and then I heard Mark Kermode. I can't remember if he's like counting down like the top 10 horror movies of the last 20 years or whatever, but he just played that dee, 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 dee clip. And he's like, people who know that movie will know why this is so terrifying.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you don't know, see the movie. And I was like, I know.
I know all too well.
So,
yeah, that ugh.
Oh boy. Well, Mac.
Well, Mom.
We're going to do something a little different this week.
Ooh la la.
I'd like to tell you a little story.
Tell me.
Here is the legend of Janghwa Hongrian Jun, which inspired A Tale of Two Sisters.
I'm excited.
Once upon a time, there was a couple who had two daughters, Janghwa, which means red flower, and Hongrian, which means red lotus. Unfortunately, the mother died, and the father then remarried. The stepmother turned out to be an evil woman who was abusive toward her stepdaughters.
I hate it when that happens.
Me too. However, the two sisters never told their father about it. The stepmother and the father had 3 sons of their own. Years passed, and when Janghwa got engaged, the father asked his second wife to help with the wedding ceremony. Unwilling to spend a penny on Janghwa, she came up with an evil plan. One night, when Janghwa was sleeping, the stepmother had her eldest son put a dead, skinned rat in Janghwa's bed.
Ew.
She brought the father to Janghwa's room the next morning, telling him she had a bad dream about her elder stepdaughter. When she pulled back the covers on Janghwa's bed, the father saw the skinned rat, but was convinced by the evil stepmother that it was a bloody fetus.
Oh my God.
Immediately, the father believed his wife and that Janghwa had had a child out of wedlock. Feeling wronged, Janghwa ran out of her house to a pond in the nearby forest. The stepmother ordered her eldest son to follow Janghwa, who later pushed her into the pond.
Holy shit!
She died by drowning, but the villagers believed she committed suicide out of shame.
Evil stepmom.
Very evil. Unable to bear the abuse by her stepmother, Hongrian soon committed suicide in the same pond where Janghwa had drowned.
What a horrible story.
But there's a part 2.
Oh, okay.
The curse of Janghwa Hongrian Jun.
Oh.
After the death of the 2 sisters, whenever a new mayor came to the village, he was found dead a day after his arrival. Finally, a young man came to the village as the new mayor. When night came, he saw the ghosts of the 2 young women. The young mayor gathered up his courage and asked them if they were the reason the previous mayors were found dead. The ghosts explained that all they wanted was for the villagers to know the truth, that Janghwa had been framed by her stepmother and murdered by her eldest half-brother. When the young mayor asked them for evidence, Zhanghua told them to examine the so-called miscarried fetus that the stepmother had shown to the villagers.
They still have it?
I know. Has it been years or
the preservation techniques? Yeah, because how often are they getting a new mayor? They didn't throw it away, and I guess they kept it in a jar of formaldehyde.
A la the devil's backbone.
It all ties together.
Morning came, and the mayor revealed the truth to everyone after examining the, quote, fetus. He then sentenced the stepmother and her eldest son to death for their crime. A couple years later, the father married again. In a dream, the two daughters visited their father, telling him that they wanted to come back to him.
Oh.
9 months later, the father's third wife delivered a pair of twin girls, whom he named Zhanghua and Hongrian.
Why do they want to go back to him? That's my question.
I don't know.
Fuck this dad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna believe your kid.
So that story I saw was from the Joseon dynasty, which was 500 years old, 500 years long. Mm-hmm. And it was like from the 1400s to about 1900. So who knows, right? Somewhere in there, this folk tale was written, conceived, not a good word in this case.
But
okay. Also, again, a skinned rat does not look like a fetus.
I'm wondering what kind of, I mean, maybe was the dad not there when OG mom had the girls? Because maybe like he's just really stupid.
Maybe.
But yeah. Also, that's not really how that works. Like, if you, like, has anybody woken up and been like, that baby I was pregnant with, here it is. But like fully extant, like a dead skinned rat would be, you know?
No, probably not.
I'd be like, hey, this is a dead skinned rat.
Oh my god.
It has a tail.
Well, people in fairy tales like sometimes act real dumb, so in inexplicable ways.
Okay. Like the men in these stories. Listen, I still have qualms with the dad, not just in the fairy tale.
Yeah,
in the story.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
All right.
Tale of Two Sisters. It was written and directed by Kim Ji-woon, and it stars Im Soo-jung, who plays Sumi, Moon Gun-yeon, who plays Soo-yeon, Yum Jung-ah, who plays Unju, and I was blown away by her performance this time.
Yeah.
And Kim Kap-soo, who played Moo-hyun. All right, so I didn't know how to explain the plot of this, so do we want to just go like we don't know the twist, or do we want to like?
Yeah, I feel like we should
say
present
that up
it
front,
like in media res as the movie does, because I feel like the movie's very purposeful with like that's part of it, and it's like a key difference to me at least between this one and the Uninvited, because. Also, I mean, I feel like it's true of many movies with twists, but watching it the first and second time, those like are two completely different experiences.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a teenage girl, Sumi, is being treated for shock and psychosis in a mental institution. She is released and returns home to her family's secluded estate in the countryside with her father and younger sister, Soo-yeon, whom she is protective over. Mm-hmm. But the first shot is of Sumi, and she's sort of got this curtain of black hair covering her face, And somebody, a Redditor or somebody said that Kim Ji-woon is kind of playing with those like tropes from like The Ring and stuff like that.
For sure.
Because there's a shot later where the stepmother is watching like just snow, like static on TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, okay. The sisters have a cold reunion with their stepmother, Unju, who constantly requires medication.
Mm-hmm. And it's always given by the dad.
Yes.
She doesn't grab it for herself, like the dad puts the pills.
It says a cold reunion. I mean, the girls are cold to her, but she's very, like, animated and, like...
But it's in such a great way. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this... the actress, yeah, you're right. She does, like, an amazing performance because it's, like, she's peppy, but it's in that really, like, passive-aggressive way that, like, if you're not at that energy level, you're just, like, get me out of here. Like, just being like... Oh my goodness, like, you're back. Like, I was cleaning all day, I was really trying to make it look good, and just like, oh my God, you're exhausting to talk to, which is just amazing.
Sumi has a nightmare of her late mother's ghost. The next day, okay, well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
So this was the second time I'd seen it, I think. The first time I saw it, I thought this was one of the most scary things I had ever seen on film.
Yeah, it was creepy.
I think the creepiness comes from the movements of the ghost. Also, she's like kind of, her neck is broken at this weird angle. So that's not good.
And she's Sumi's in bed, and I mean, obviously it's just scary to have something in your bedroom, like the place where you're most vulnerable, like come to get you, and it like kind of slinks around the room, and you just kind of see more like a shape slinking around the room, and like ah.
And then it kind of, he does these sort of like jumps, like where the monster, the ghost, like jumps real quick and is like, oh, all of a sudden like in your face. But before that, some blood runs down the ghost's leg, and then a hand comes down her leg too. So we can talk about that later. But that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, definitely.
The next day, she finds family photos which reveal that Unju was formerly an in-home nurse for her then terminally ill mother. And
I feel like we should note that, like, this is not explicitly stated, like, at all. Like, you really got to be like, it's not like a blink and miss it kind of thing, but they don't tell you, oh, she was the nurse, it's like you infer it by, she's going through the photos, and then there's the family photo of them, and the new stepmother's like off to the far left, obviously now you can see, oh, okay. And doesn't it also reveal that she's like a colleague of,
yeah. Well, Sumi assumes that her dad and this woman had an affair while her mother was ill.
I think he did. I think they did.
Yeah, probably.
Well, because, I mean, yeah, I feel like because of their, what we see later in the flashbacks, I feel like they definitely were getting up to some no good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She discovers bruises on her sister's arms and suspects Unju being responsible. Sumi confronts Unju about the bruises, but Unju refuses to apologize for her actions. That night, and the father's been talking on the phone to someone, and at this point we don't know who that someone is.
Like a confidant.
But he says to the someone, I don't think you should come, but these other people are coming over.
I guess maybe like mental health is not a great... from this movie, you could surmise that getting proper help if you are mentally ill is not easy in South Korea, because I'm not going to make an assumption about the whole country, but in this movie, like, because I just can't... And I guess that's the thing that takes me a little bit out of it, is like this, we don't know, from the get what happened or what, was wrong with Sumi, but it is like, okay, so she just came back from like a psychiatric like hospital, and like the dad is never, I mean, to be fair, every time he tries to talk to her, she's very cold to him, but it's like, well, she's a kid and you're the adult, so keep trying. Like, you're just not gonna see how you're like, I feel like there's so many misunderstandings that could have been fixed if they had maybe one convo like the first day.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's so not defensive, but he's just oblivious. Like he keeps telling her, "Stop it! Like
Yeah.
stop doing what you're doing. If you keep doing this, you're going to make yourself sick." That's not what's happening, and that's not how mental health works.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess in a way it's like realistic because, obviously a lot of people don't know what to do, but I kind of wish, I don't know, we could have maybe just seen a little bit just because if the point is that he's an imperfect dad, which he is, like, and not really caring or good at talking to people about this, I kind of wish that had been fleshed out a little bit because it is just kind of like him ignoring her a little bit.
A lot
of
I
it.
think.
Yeah.
Because there's one part later, not to skip ahead, but there's one part later where he leaves her alone in the damn house. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's a really irresponsible, reckless thing to do.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. So the uncle and aunt arrive for dinner, and Anju tells bizarre stories that bewilder them.
This is such an amazing scene.
So do you want to, I know this is like your favorite part, right? So do you want to talk about this part, Mac?
Sure. Well, again, Anju the actress is just doing like this incredible job because like, just picture this. There's 4 people at a table. 3 of them look stone-faced and like they don't want to be there. And one woman is just like telling a story and killing herself laughing over it. Like, she's just like, do you remember that one time the guy, he used to always run out when it was raining and he'd be naked. And then, if it rained multiple times, he things goes on and on. And she's just like cracking up and she's like, do you remember? Do you remember that? Do you remember? And, it's so horrible and awkward. And the uncle just goes, no, I don't remember. And she says, what did you say? He says, I said, I don't remember. And like, it's an instant, like, she is shut off and like goes from like the really pleasant, enthusiastic demeanor to like completely closed off. And she just is like, well, why would you say something like that? And again, this actress, I mean, I think everyone does a good job, but she is definitely like the shining star, because she's a character who is obviously like an antagonist, but you love to see her on screen. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think not every movie does that well, where it's like, I wanted her to be there. And now I was going to ask you about this because this part does still confuse me. The wife to the uncle begins to choke on something completely out of the blue and then falls back and, the men are trying to help her. And I mean, this scene is just really well, like, shot and choreographed. Like, it's just so, the colors are so vibrant and it's very, I don't know, like, terrifying.
Well, she seems to be having an epileptic seizure, but again, like this Redditor that I was reading was like, it's not epilepsy because the husband would know if she were epileptic. And there's a focus on her hand.
Yeah.
And so that mirrors another hand we can talk about later.
Oh, okay.
So the suggestion is that she was, the ghostly manifestation was messing with her.
Oh, interesting. I guess maybe it's just to fuck up the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's on her back on the ground, and the way her body is, her head's pointing towards the kitchen where Anju is standing, just kind of watching it all. And she looks and her eyes like go really big. And is it there that we see that there's a little glimpse of there's like a really creepy looking figure in like looking really horrible, and Anju is staring and just starts screaming, Uncle and Aunt leave. And now the dad and Anju are just sitting in this disaster of a room.
Kind of funny.
It's
kind of awful and funny and awkward. And the aunt on the drive home says that she saw a ghost, and the ghost was bloody. We can't really tell like who it is, and it was in this impossibly small space,
like underneath the cabinet or something. Yeah.
So it's all just
it's
really
so
scary.
weird. Yeah, this is a really jarring scene because like, I mean, and I guess like if that's what they were going for is just like having this thing that completely like they did a good job because. And none of the scares in this movie, I don't think are like jump scary at all. I mean, okay, there's sometimes that you like, you know, get a little bit freaked, but I don't know, like it just is done in a more like tense and freaked out way. And Anju later, dad has walked away. Oh, we forgot to mention, there's an interesting scene earlier where Anju is in bed in, you know, the dad's bed, and he holds her until she falls asleep and then leaves and sleeps on the couch.
Right.
And this is not, no reason is given why, but we know later.
It'll make sense later.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a good detail because at the time you just kind of think it's still a normal kind of thing to do of like, okay, so is this guy not into her? Like, is he just keeping her there? Like, what's going on? You know? So I think that was really smart. But yeah, later Anju is by herself and she's kind of like, she remembers seeing the aunt staring wide-eyed underneath the cabinet. So she kind of like peers under there and doesn't really see anything. And then she looks up and there's like a little broken piece of like a hair clip or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes down to reach it. And I mean, like, this scene is just beautiful. And then, of course, as she reaches down to get it, a hand grabs her hand.
Awesome.
Oh, and you can see behind her, the camera moves to where we're seeing her face, and behind her is the dining room. We see a girl in a green dress sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
With long hair, of course.
Anju's relationship with her stepdaughter sours after she finds her pet bird mutilated and killed, and her personal photographs defaced. Mm-hmm. So someone has scribbled out her face.
And ripped it off, too.
Yeah. Or, ripped off the corner, if whatever. Yeah. As punishment. Oh, this is hard. This is hard.
This is one of the worst scenes. Yeah. Yeah.
As punishment, she locks Soo-yeon in the closet. Soo-yeon is screaming. She's obviously terrified. And she's struggling. And it's really tough to watch this part.
And I guess the original folktale you told does make sense in this, because when she goes to see Soo-yeon, because I think she first was just mad because of the photos, and then she goes to confront Soo-yeon and she puts her hand somewhere and she's like, what? And then she throws open the covers and there's the dead bird with the girl. And Soo-yeon is just as scared as she is. Like, she's like, oh my God. And like Soo-yeon, this whole movie is just like sweet, like unassuming young girl. You know, she can't whistle. She likes to, you know, pick at flowers. Like, she's just a you know, so it's just like, she did not kill this bird, you know, there's no way. Or it feels so very much an overreaction on Anju's part. And poor Soo-yeon is just screaming. Like, this actress, like, some screams in a movie are kind of like, okay, this is a person screaming. But like, these were like wails of terror.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that. Mm-hmm. Sumi releases her and tells her father about the abuse. Her father begs her to stop acting out and informs her that Soo-yeon is dead.
Bum, bum, bum.
First twist.
Yeah. More to come.
Yes. Sumi
this is a really great scene too, because Soo Yun at this point, I mean, maybe the viewer has realized, has not spoken to anyone besides, she hasn't spoken to the dad, and the dad's never spoken to her. Whenever he has called them, it's always just been Sumi instead of, hey, you two, you know? And when he says this, like, Soo Yun, I guess now we know it's just from Sumi's vision, just starts, like, the camera's all kind of jittery, and she just, like, starts screaming, and it's like, oh, very freaky.
Now, one weird thing, weird in quotes, is that the stepmother does talk to Soo Yun. Sumi refuses to believe it as she sees her sister sobbing uncontrollably. Then we get to the bloody sack segment of the movie.
I'm interested in what your take is on the symbolism of this, because I'm like, is there what is, like, is it just a bloody sack?
Well, you know what it reminded me was of Audition. Like, are there, like, damn human-sized sacks just all over Japan and Korea? It's just like
laying about.
I mean, I don't know, maybe like a grain sack, or I don't know what it is, but it's huge though. It's bigger than,
it's like Santa's sack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if Soo Yun is in there, I mean, it's way too big for her body.
Yeah. You could fit like 3 Soo Yuns in there.
Totally. It's really, really big. But the next morning, Unju drags a bloodied sack through the house, whipping it. Well, you know, pounding it.
Yeah. This is when the dad has left, you know, the mentally unstable daughter that he has, who's been acting out recently. He's like, and I'm going to leave her for the whole day and just go.
Yeah.
And interestingly, on the note, he says, like, I'm leaving the house, you know, please, like, lock up and everything. So, Yeonju is there, though.
That's true.
Question.
Sumi believes that Soo Yun is inside the sack. Unju and Sumi get into a violent physical altercation. Sumi's father arrives to find an unconscious Sumi. Okay, couple of things. One thing I noticed, because I saw The Devil a handful of times now, but there's this awesome shot that he uses in both movies. And what it is it's a fight scene inside a room, and then there's a shot from the camera from inside the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
As, like, somebody hits it.
That is really good.
I was like, oh, yay! So that's in both movies. Also, there's a statue that Unju hauls out to just, like, drop on Sumi, and this statue is covering its eyes, like, see no evil.
And they have a very interesting conversation, because Yeonju, as she's dragging the statue over, she talks to Sumi, and she's telling her, like, you know, bad memories and things, like, you try to forget them, but you can't. They follow you everywhere like a ghost. And Sumi says, will you help me? And she's like, ugh. She's like, you still don't get it, do you? She's like, but yeah, okay, I'll help you. And I interpreted this as, like, well, okay, I don't want to reveal what I interpreted it as yet.
Well, in this, we're about to drop the bomb.
Yeah, we're about to drop the bomb.
It is ultimately revealed that Sumi and her father were alone in the house the entire time.
Bum, bum, bum.
Soo Yun and Unju were merely hallucinatory manifestations of Sumi's dissociative identity disorder.
But I think it's important to note that she never acted as Soo Yun. She was only ever Sumi, or because, like, I don't think she ever pretended to be Soo Yun. I think or not pretended, but she definitely was Yeonju. You know, that's why the dinner was so weird. That's why the dad wouldn't sleep in the bed with her. That's why she was taking medicine. But Soo Yun, I interpreted as, like, both her manifestation, but also maybe kind of a ghost.
That is cool. Because I thought she was that. I don't know. I still have some questions about the ending. But I mean, the only thing is like the periods. They all get their periods on the same day.
But they're sleeping in the same bed. No, Soo-Yun and Soo-Mi are sleeping in the same bed when they get their period.
It's like Soo-Yun's first period.
But like, but Yeonju says she gets her period.
Yeah.
We just never see Soo-Mi talk about having a period. But I mean,
yeah, I think when she goes to the bathroom, she looks down.
So yeah, the blood in there is Soo-Mi's, but I think her projection is that it's Soo-Yun. Part of me just wants to believe she was kind of also actually there as like a ghost.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a ghost.
There is a ghost.
I think there are 2 ghosts in the house.
Oh, and so yeah, the reveal when it's a beautifully shot scene, when the dad, he comes in and then who do we see? And I really love the way that this is done too, because this whole movie, Yeonju has been in very like regal outfits, like very frou-frou, like, you know, pink.
Shiny.
Very shiny, very satin silk. But when we see her, she's wearing an all black pantsuit. So like it pans up from her feet. So you would have no idea who it is until it gets to her face. And it's like, oh, holy shit. And it does this great like turnaround where it's Yeonju sitting, Soo-Mi Yeonju sitting, turns around. Then you see the real Yeonju turns back around. It's still Soo-Mi Yeonju looking. And then one more time. And then it's Soo-Mi. And it's like, whoa. And Soo-Mi is just like having a mental break. Like she's catatonic.
This is one thing I love about Gim, because that in somebody else's hands could be really like, okay, we get it. You know, it could be like really like, you don't have to show us like 3 times. But it's such a twist, you know, it's almost like he's gently like, you know, getting you to understand what the reality is. Maybe like the father should have done with his daughter, but
this way, and again, that's why I'm like, what a horrible decision to feed into your daughter's delusions that she's your wife. Like, again, I know that they didn't, but you know, it's like, if you find your daughter putting on makeup, sleeping in your bed, why would you not be like, I gotta call the doctors up to see like what's up? And it's like, if your daughter is telling stories to the uncle that are not true and pretending like she is your wife, like maybe something's wrong.
Yeah. There are, we're not going to be able to go through all the really cool stuff, but like there's so many really cool shots where it could be argued that the director is trying to like give you little hints, you know.
For sure.
There's one where Soo-Mi her face is half in shadow and half in light. Yeah, I just stopped writing stuff down because there's just so many
there's so
cool
many
things.
And I mean, in the very beginning of the movie, the doctors say to Soo-Mi, do you know who you are?
Yeah. Oh, no, he says, who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? That's even better.
Yeah.
So this is kind of maybe where you might think, oh, okay, movie's over. Soo-Mi goes back to the hospital, has a quote unquote tender moment with Yeonju, who comes to sit with her. And I mean, okay, y'all.
Now, Anju's personality is completely different. That's what I thought was so cool. Like, the real Anju is so much more like sedate. Her voice is lower.
Yeah.
She's much more comforting than the one that was in Anju's head. So I like that.
There is, we still kind of get a glimpse though, because I mean, as someone who has had to deal with a partner of a parent, you can definitely see some realism And just in the way that she treats Sumi, I've totally been there before of this, like, when you're in front of, when Yeonju is with Sumi in the hospital with her dad, obviously under a watchful eye, she's very much like, I think you'll be really happy here, and I'll visit you all the time. And she goes up to leave, and Sumi just grabs her hand and is not looking at her, but just is holding tight. And the mask kind of begins to slip a little bit. And she's like, let go of me. Like, she's like getting really freaked out, and she like shoves her hand away. And
Yeah.
I just think that scene's just amazing, that it's like, I do think that, Sumi's portrayal of Yeonju is a bit of a caricature, because I mean, she's a kid, and this is what her vision of her is, but it's not completely false, know? And even fair. That's given to you in a subtle way. Like, of just kind of like, she's not, like, she might not be this caricature, but she's no saint,
Yeah. I think that's fair. That night, Anju hears footsteps in Soo-yeon's old bedroom, revealing that the ghosts actually existed. Mm-hmm. Soo-yeon's real ghost crawls out of the closet and kills Anju.
Yeah, and this scene is really good because she is very surreal. Like, she opens up the room and it's like bare, and there's like kind of this ripped wallpaper, and she sees something kind of like slide into the wall, and heads over to the wardrobe, and it's very spooky as she's like, you see her from behind opening it, and then you see from inside the wardrobe, like, her opening up the door and like looking in. Oh, it's so spooky. And she's cold. It's really cold in there. Yeah. She's like constantly like shivering and stuff. And yeah, I thought this scene was really good because I mean, I feel like the character of Yeonju knows that it's a bad idea, but she is like, there's an inexplicable, force drawing her, like, guilt, perhaps, or...
Well, it's funny that you say that. Because after we have a shot of Sumi smiling, and maybe, having some peace, but this is my question. How would she know? But, okay, we can come back to that.
Okay.
Because then we have a bunch of flashbacks. And this just sort of, like, is the... I don't know. It's the culmination of the whole damn movie, and it's just a beautiful thing to see.
It's great.
So while the terminally ill mother was still alive, the father engaged in this affair with Anju.
The nurse. Taking care of his dying wife. Like, okay. Listen. I'm not saying the dad is evil, but he ain't no good guy. No. In the words, this is a quote from The Stand, you ain't no nice guy. And he ain't no nice guy. You couldn't just wait until she died. Like, you gotta really do it right in the house.
Tacky.
Very tacky. And just... those poor kids. There's like a great scene where Soo-mi and Soo-yeon are sitting on the swings and they're having a great time, but then car pulls up with dad and Yeonju and they just are staring daggers into them as they're walking in.
So, yes, obviously the sisters are upset. The mother hangs herself in the closet. There's
that scene where, so Soo-mi we see is like very like outspoken against, Yeonju, and they're eating and she's just like, I'm not hungry, and like gets up and goes upstairs. And even though Soo-yeon hasn't done anything, Yeonju is like grabs her spoon and then pours out her food. Yes. And Soo-yeon's just like looking at it like, fuck my life. And so Soo-yeon goes upstairs and cries, and then her mom comes and comforts her. And, she's holding on to her mom and crying. And it's just like, I mean, these two are the biggest victims in this whole goddamn movie.
Yes. Soo-yeon attempts to revive her, the mother.
Because she opens up she opens up the dresser.
I can't. There are certain things that people have experienced in human life that I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
This is one of them.
And I guess in this shot we also see that the uncle and his wife are there. Yeah, they're there in the
In the house?
flashback. Yeah.
Okay.
While Yeonju is preparing dinner. So I thought that was kind of interesting because it's like a complete, you see then it's kind of like a parallel later.
Yeah.
So they were there that day. But yes, Soo-yeon has the worst experience ever in finding her mom in her closet. Like Soo-yeon's closet. Like, damn. Is it her closet?
Yeah, come on, Mom.
Come on, Mom.
So she attempts to revive her, but instead what happens is the closet falls on top of Soo-yeon. And
she's not dead.
No, she's not dead, but she's definitely injured and struggling and needs help. Anju walks in, and first she's going to save Soo-yeon, but then she thinks about it for a second.
Well, she kind of walks in and just looks so like, first off, like, whoa. And well, the scene where it falls, there's this great shot that like just moves from left to right of everyone hearing the noise. Yes. Like Sumi looks up from her book that she's writing in, and like Yeonju kind of like looks up and she's like, huh, and Yeonju's the first one to go up, and it's like she comes in and she's like, holy shit, and she looks at it and like just kind of turns around and walks out.
Yeah, there's a beat though. There's definitely a beat where she's like, I could help her.
But I feel like it cinches this. I interpret it as like she sees it. She doesn't move to help, which I mean, obviously says a lot about her. Mm. She leaves, but then it looks like she might go back. Like Sumi walks out of her room.
Yeah.
And here.
This clinches it.
I think she's thinking maybe, oh, I don't want to go in there myself, but if I go in there with her, like, we can be like, oh, what was that loud noise? Let's go check it out. But then she says to Sumi, like, did you hear that loud noise? And Sumi's like, what does she say?
I don't know exactly what she says, but she insults her.
Yeah, she's just as like
you're trash or something.
Yeah, she's like, what? She's like, oh, she says, why are you here? My dad's not up here. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, you're just, exactly like trash that's around with my dad. And she's like, and Yeonju looks at her and she says, you might live to regret this moment. Like,
but do you know what's cool? I just realized this just now. So Sumi asks her, why are you here? Mm. And remember earlier, the manifestation in her mind was she was sitting down, and then Sumi was standing up at the table, and she said, why are you here?
Mm. Yeonju tells her, like, you may come to regret this moment. I want you to like consider that. And Sumi she dunks on her and says like, there could be nothing worse than standing here next to you right now. Can you move? And leaves. And unfortunately, maybe she learns that there is something worse that could happen and now, okay, this is not Sumi. I saw people interpreting this as, it was in a way Sumi's fault, and it's like, again, she's a child.
No, she has guilt, but she's not responsible.
No, she's in no way culpable for this.
Not the same thing.
Because Yeonju is like, I know there's somebody dying under there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Yeonju is totally responsible, and that's why she gets this justice. Now, is the justice real, or is it just in Sumi's head?
Good question. Because, this kind of whole thing has been everything in a way is through. I mean, there's some scenes that, obviously Sumi's not there for, like in the car with the uncle and his wife, and, some scenes with the dad. Well, I mean, I feel like I don't know if Yeonju died necessarily, but I think you can definitely interpret that scene as she knows that she did something wrong. And like she said in, well, again, this was a projection, but you know, she says, you try to forget bad memories, but you can't. They follow you around like a ghost. And I mean, this is proof that it's left up to interpretation. Like,
yeah, for sure.
She doesn't die on screen, but a ghost takes her. So it's kind of like, well, you decide.
So it's kind of cool because sometimes, like, what were we talking about that one time? I think one missed call. And I told Andy, there's just like too much shit going on in this movie. There's a lot going on in this movie, but I think it works. Mm-hmm. Now, it's this is widely respected movie. I mean, not everybody loves it. I saw some people say he doesn't quite pull it off because there's just too much stuff going on. I disagree. I think that it is fantastic and super impressive.
It's beautiful. Like, it's a gorgeous looking movie. The score is like, all of the really intense scenes have this like swelling of like orchestral music, and it like legit will make you cry. Like, it, because the ending scene is Sumi. I just love this ending scene. Like, Sumi is obviously pissed off. She's like, fuck this lady. And she leaves the house and she's walking out, and Yeonju opens up the window, and it's just like crazy to know, because we still get shots of Soo-yeon thrashing, like fingernails bleeding, like trying to get purchase underneath the wardrobe. So like she's still there, and they're just nobody's doing anything. And obviously it's because the dad and Sumi don't know, but it's still true that it's wild just seeing them, like Sumi brush past her dad, the dad's watching her, and Yeonju's watching her from the window. Like, Sumi kind of turns and looks back at her and is like, fuck you, and like walks off. And it's like all the while. And then there's this heartbreaking shot. It's like the screen's mostly black, but there's this little sliver of light on one of Soo-yeon's eyes, and she just says like, Sumi, like, help me. And it's so depressing.
So one idea was that these manifestations inside her mind were created, and I don't know how dissociative identity disorder works at all, but just in the world of this movie, what happens is she creates these characters, and she can finally save Soo-yeon, from the evil stepmother. So the stepmother's, dialed up to 11 and like torturing her sister, but she can, every time she can come in and save her sister
and like hug her, and like there's all these really tender scenes of them. Like, there's a really sweet scene where they're in bed and they just got their arms around each other, and Sumi's like, I will never let anything bad like that happen to you again. And it's really heartbreaking, because there's no point in which like again, I just want to drive home. It's like, and I know you know this, but it's like Sumi is like not culpable in any way. It's like she was pissed off and walking away from the house, but like, had she known that like there was no, divide between them, it just was truly a tragic thing, that Yeonju could have stepped in and helped.
The only way I think she's culpable, and this is a really long shot, it's sort of in an existential way, and she's a child, so I don't really think it's even fair for me to say this, but she was making a choice in how she treated Eunju.
This is true.
She had a lot of resentment toward her, I think understandably, but she really kind of lived with that and let it boil up inside of her. And so maybe part of the message is, don't do that. Because when you do that, really bad things can happen. You lose sight. Very good. Awesome. Yeah. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Like she was so clouded by her just hatred, and not all petty. Again, dad is she's fucking sleeping with the husband of a woman she's taking care of. Horrible. And being fucking rude to the children. Like, stop. But yeah, Sumi in this moment is so blinded by just like, fuck this lady, that she's not even investigating, the sound that she heard, or, saying like, maybe I'll go see if Soo-yeon wants to hang out with me while I go do this. She's just completely wrapped up in her own thing. I feel like, again, same, I don't know about dissociative identity disorder well, and like, certainly I think movies in which the perpetrator is somebody with like really, bad mental illness, it's like always a negative trope and not done right ever. But I feel like there is credence to that theory in that scene where where Yeonju's holding the statue above her head and Sumi's like, can you help me? And I feel like what she's saying there is just kind of like, I can't be here right now. Like kind of in that moment a little bit, even though she's not conscious of what's going on. It's like, she's so run ragged and just that she's like, can you take over, this vessel right now? That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that's cool. I hadn't really thought that much about that moment, but there was a moment earlier on in the movie, maybe it's just that one moment, where Eunju is sitting at the table and Sumi is facing her. Mm-hmm. I think there are two. I think they're reversed. The shots are reversed. But in one of them, and Eunju's face is like perfectly dead set in the center of the frame, but she's kind of confronting Sumi about her mental illness. And later we know, okay, that's just herself talking to herself, but we all do that, right? Yeah. I certainly do that. I talk to myself a lot, like, oh, you idiot, what the fuck were you thinking? So just to have this personification outside of herself, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, me too. Great movie.
Little trivia. When this film was originally released, it became both the highest grossing Korean horror film of all time.
Wow.
And the first one to be screened in American theaters.
Wow.
2003. So really not that long ago, but...
Yeah. Almost 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there'll be a retrospective. An extended ending shows that Sumi commits suicide after she is readmitted to the institution by ingesting her entire pill bottle to finally reunite with her mom and sister. This was cut because it was considered too depressing.
Good. I think that's a good call. I don't think we needed to see that. We should rate Tale of Two Sisters.
Well, whatever it is, it's 5 out of 5. But what's the thing?
Sacks? Human-sized sacks? No, I gotta say, don't shoot me. I would give this 4 sacks.
Uh-oh.
Only because it is listen, it's a 2-hour-long movie. That's not the reason. It's that I do think that there were some scenes that did not have to be there. Like just a little bit of redundant, a little bit, kind of in more in the beginning and middle. I think everything past the like, twists, are perfect. Mwah, chef's kiss, would not do anything. And the beginning is really good, but there's just some stuff where I'm kind of like, I get it. Like, I did get some of that. Feel free to, listen, we're all different. I accept if you disagree.
Maybe I have a higher tolerance than some people for a longer movie, and this was only the second time I had seen it. So some of the stuff, I hadn't remembered or whatever, but I remember looking at my watch and it was like 4:30 and I'm like, all right, well, it'll be 6:30 when I'm done, but it just flew by to me. I mean, I was totally wrapped up in it and I didn't think about the time. And, I just wanted to like dig into it more, but I mean, have you given a movie a 5 out of 5 yet, Mac?
I don't know, but I do give 5 out of 5s. Martyrs. And I just want to say, it's like, this was my second time watching it. And
oh, I thought you had seen it like a bunch of times.
Oh, no. This is just my second time watching it. And the first time, I think I would have given it 5 out of 5. And I don't know, maybe everyone else has a different philosophy, but like I kind of just rate as I'm watching it, and it's like this one felt like a 4 out of 5, but I do think first time around I would have given it 5 out of 5. Make of that what you will.
But I would watch this one again. You know, I'd love to watch it with someone who's never seen it before, just to like, you know, talk it out and stuff, and totally recommend it for anybody who likes horror and psychological horror.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, let's take a break. Let's move on to our next segment. What has Max seen? The Evil Twin Edition. Now, Tale of Two Sisters is not an Evil Twin movie, but we've already done Ghosts. So
True.
I thought, let's do this. So this is taken from Cinelinx, Volta.ie, and Ranker. I know you've seen some of these, but I don't know if you've seen all of them. Dead Ringers.
Yes.
Sorry, I need to get my glasses too. Army of Darkness.
No.
Oh, we should put that on the list.
Yeah, I do. I've always wanted to watch it.
Sisters, 2006.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me
dial it up.
Wait, is this a horror movie?
Yeah.
2006. Huh. Never seen this.
Is it American?
It's independent. I think it's American, English and French. Maybe it's Canadian. It's got Chloe Sevigny. Is that how you say her name? Sevigny. She's in it.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 2007, the BBC series with James Nesbitt.
No.
I thought we watched it together.
Did we?
I watched it, but I thought you watched it with me.
I think I did. Because I think it has that one. There's a guy who's cute in it. Yeah.
Evil Twin, which is a Korean movie from 2007.
No.
American Mary, 2012.
Yes. It's not good.
Okay. Goodnight Mommy, 2014.
God.
Sinister 2, 2015.
Unfortunately.
The Forest, 2016.
Yes.
And Amityville, The Awakening, 2017.
No. Have not
Me
seen
neither.
that.
I did want to mention that I read somewhere that Goodnight Mommy was influenced by A Tale of Two Sisters.
Well, there you go. I will say I did not enjoy Goodnight Mommy as much as A Tale of Two Sisters.
No, I don't know if I'll ever watch that again, because that
Same.
was the one I was texting you.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was like 7 minutes left, and I said, I don't know if I can do it. And you were like, shut it off. It's fine. You don't have to watch it. Yeah. But it was a point of pride at that point, and I made it, but...
At what cost?
That was at what cost? That was a tough watch. Well, now you have the less fun job.
Well, so after we watched the great A Tale of Two Sisters, we watched the remake, The Uninvited, from 2009. It was directed by the Guard brothers and starred Emily Browning, who you might recognize from Sucker Punch, Elizabeth Banks, who's in everything, Ariel Kebble, which she was in John Tucker Must Die. Like, that's what I recognized her from. And David Strathairn. Is that how you say his name? Strathairn?
I think that's as good a pronunciation as any. It's hard to know how to pronounce that name.
This is true. So this one opens up a little bit differently. It opens with Alex. Is it Anna or Anna? It's Anna. They had to give him two similar sounding names. Anna is making out with a boy who was, funnily enough, the jock in Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Do you remember? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like the Chad jock. Does not play that same character. And, this guy that she's making out with is like, I brought a condom. Well, maybe he is a douche. Well, and she's like, oh, I don't want to have sex. And she just like gets up and leaves. And her sister's like, where are you going? And then we get some backstory. Her mom is terminally ill, has a little bell on her wrist and rings it.
Yeah.
Like, and not like, oh, garçon, like, help me. I can't do anything. They said, like, there's a little bit of narration too, which kind of to me sometimes can be really cheesy in a movie. And she's like, yeah, when mom got sick, we moved her out to this house. What? And she says, oh, because she wanted to be there. She did not. She did not. And the mom's like, oh, Anna, hello. And then the house blows up. Anna's not in there. But we see that the house that her mom is staying in blows up. Her mom dies. And so she's been in a psychiatric institution for 10 months. That is almost a full calendar year. Like, I'm not saying anything about like the average stay of a stay in a psychiatric institution, but you would not think it to me when she comes home, because everybody's just kind of like, oh, hey, you've been gone for 10 months. That is almost a year. Like, okay. So she's discharged. This movie's not great with foreshadowing, because what do we get in the very beginning? While she's at this psychiatric institution, there's a weirdo lady who's like, but who am I going to tell all my stories to? And another orderly is like, leave her alone. And Anna leaves. Oh, I'm sure that's the last we'll see of this lady. How fucking obvious can you get? Okay. So she goes with Dad. Dad came out with a book. It says For Anna and Alex. Aw. And when they get home, Elizabeth Banks is there. She is the girlfriend, Rachel. And I gotta say, Elizabeth Banks does kind of kill it. Like, but this is, and I think she plays a great American version of this, to be honest. Like, she just is horrible, and the energy is so perfect. Like, it's just this, like, kind of awkward, like, hey, like, I know you hate my guts, but like, you gotta live with me, I don't know. Again, something that I have experienced of just like, you are not my family member, but you're talking to me like you are, and you're trying so hard when I just wish you'd leave me alone. 'Cause again, let's we not forget, her mom died in an explosion. And it's like, okay, if your parents got divorced and 10 months later your dad was seeing someone new, that would be tough. If your mom died in a horrible explosion, I think it'd be tough to take that. And so honestly, fuck this dad, because immediately he's just kind of like, be nice to her. No. They've repainted the whole they've done all this stuff to the house. It's like, how more alien could you make this girl feel? And her sister is there. Something that I found very obvious is her sister, Alex, is wearing the exact same clothes that she was wearing on the night of the explosion. I'm sure that has no coincidence. No, they just didn't have a very big wardrobe, I think. And so, yeah, they're really close. And the sister says, you didn't answer any of my letters. And Anna says, what letters? We see the scene of her dad in the study looking like this, while Alex is behind him being like, you never sent my letters? No, they are not talking to each other. Again, this movie, I know the twist, but I think even if you didn't know the twist, it will be pretty easy to guess. So, yeah, basically, I mean, Rachel, the evil stepmom, just gets more and more awkward and evil and bad. Alex is more and more never talked to by anyone in the house. The boy that, her old boyfriend who we saw in the beginning, he delivers stuff to their house, I guess, and he sees her and he's like, hey, Anna, I know what happened that night. And she's like, oh, Worm, you know? can we talk about it? And he's like, yeah, we'll meet later. Because I should mention also, when she's in the psychiatric facility in the beginning, she's talking to her therapist and she's trying to disseminate like what happened. She can't really, and this was the dumbest shit ever, was, again, this is a girl I believe is in there because of a suicide attempt, and the doctor, she's like, I can't remember what happened that night. Is that important? And he's like, no, I don't think it's important. Just go back home and finish what you started. What? That line immediately took me. I was like, finish what do you mean my life? Like, I don't know what you're, okay. Will come up later though. Everything in this movie does. Everything is purposeful, but in a stupid way. So, they realize, what is with this realization that the stepmom is, the live-in nurse. Live-in kind of denotes that she's living with you. And like, because Anna's looking through photos and she's like, wait, there's Rachel. And it's like, you lived with her. What? How weird is this? She plans to meet with Matt, who's going to tell her what really happened. He never shows up. The next morning, they find his body in the ocean. Anna thinks, oh, it was Rachel. And there is a pretty cool scene where that night before they find his body, she gets a vision of him. Like he sneaks into her room, but then when she tries to hold on to him, his back is all broken in like weird ways. And like, he's saying to her, he's like, no, please hold on to me. And, she like is like freaked out and like drops him and leaves. And then they say the next morning that he must have hit a piece of lumber while sailing on his boat and broke his back and drowned. Anna is very much like, wow, I can't believe Rachel did this. Okay,
one thing I want to say about Rachel, I mean, obviously she's painted with this really broad brush, but she will not give anybody any fucking privacy. Like,
this woman is in everyone's business.
Yeah, she's like, hey, what you guys doing? What you guys talking about? Hey, do you want to like come on shopping with me? Or, I'm just like, she never, ever, ever. She's always like standing right outside every doorway.
Yeah. See, and that's a problem I have with this, is like, I know that this is an unreliable narrator, but okay, well, good. So, okay, they're doing some investigation. They're like, okay, so surely she must have had something to do with killing our mom. So they can't find a record of her with the State Nursing Association. So they conclude, okay, well, she must be. There was this murderer who was never caught named Mildred Kemp, because Anna keeps seeing these random visions of three, young kids, one of whom, this little girl who... Because in the beginning of the movie, during her dream, she found this girl, chopped up in, a bag.
A bag!
Yeah, the bags. Bags
are back.
The bags are back, baby. And they're like, well, okay, what is it called? Deductive reasoning. It's got to be, she's Mildred Kemp. And so... who was a nanny who killed 3 children she was paid to care for because she was obsessed with the widowed father. So, and they know that it must have been her because Rachel has this necklace of like 3 pearls, and the mom in this photo they found has the same necklace. Deductive proof. Conclusive proof. Circumstantial evidence, never heard of her. And so Anna tells Rachel, like, bitch, I know who you are. And Rachel's like, what? And and to her credit, Rachel is very much like, oh, is that so? Like, reacts only how a guilty person would. And I did like this scene because they're having this big a party again, except this time it's for the dad who's a publisher or something. And so they're going to have all the people in the house. There's no family relation. And so while she's getting ready, that's when Anna confronts her by this, I know you're not Rachel. And she takes the necklace that she had been wearing and like begins to put it around Anna's neck. And then as she's like, accusing her, like tightens it. And I did like that scene. Like, I thought that was good.
But I would say don't accuse somebody of being a vicious murderer when they're putting a necklace around your neck.
Especially a thick necklace with 3 chains on. Like, you know, like it's not just a little tiny necklace. It's a big necklace.
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip. And so during the party, Anna gets another fucking vision and she kicks accidentally the pot roast. It goes flying. And then, see, this is again where I'm like, fuck this dad, because Rachel comes in and she's like, what did you do? I was working so hard on that pot roast. And the girl's on the ground, like, having a nervous breakdown, and the dad's like, how dare you? Like, have y'all never heard of an accident? Like, she could have bumped the table and the roast fell down. Like, they act like she threw it down, pissed on it, and said, this is for you, Rachel. Where all they did was they walk in, it's on the ground, and she's like in hysterics. And the dad's like, fuck you. So that's great. Again, dad makes a weird decision and leaves. Just fucks off. For no reason, I think. Something with his publishing job. And so Anna goes to the police and she's like, listen, this lady is Mildred Kemp. I got the facts right here. And the sheriff is very much like, okay, all right. Sorry, I should have said before this happened, you know, Anna and Alex were at home. And Alex is like, don't worry, like, I'll be the distraction. Anna, you go to the police. And so, like, Anna's telling the sheriff too, he's like, my sister's back home. Like, you gotta come help, you know, like, she's there with my sister. And, you know, very, very tellingly, the sheriff's like, nobody's gonna get hurt. Like, you know, just rest. And she falls asleep. When she wakes up, the sheriff is there with Rachel, and Rachel's injecting her with some sort of sedative, which, again, these people are not good at communicating, because instead of saying, hey, honey, I'm giving you a sedative because, like, you're having a nervous breakdown, like, they're just like, hold her down, like, you know, to give her the medicine. So she goes back, and there's a really weird convo with Rachel, which, again, if Rachel's innocent, I don't know why she would say this. She says, like, you know, I can't have children. So I was so excited that I would get to have a daughter, but you took that chance away from me. What? Like,
yeah. And also she said, like, kind of off the rip, like, I hope it works out for you to stay here.
Yeah. Like, insinuating, like, you're going to get sent back.
Bitch.
It's like, y'all, this is my home. I was gone for 10 months. And so things happen, and basically Anna wakes up and finds that Alex has killed Rachel and thrown her body in the dumpster. Dad comes home, and you know, Anna's like, oh, I'm going to totally be there for my sister. And she's like, well, she had to kill her. Rachel was coming after her. And he's like, Alex died. And then it all comes back to her. When she went home after being angry, she went into her house, heard something, looked through the people, saw her dad and Rachel fucking. So again, pieces of shit, to be honest. Her mom's in the fucking boathouse, dying anyway. So she's gonna fucking blow the house up. So she gets a watering can full of gasoline. Alex has followed her home. And while she was filling it up, I guess she left the tap on, so then it was dripping on. Alex accidentally hits a lamp. And so while Anna's walking up to go burn their house down, the boathouse explodes, killing both Alex and her mom. And so, you know, this all comes back to her. And, you know, Anna's being taken away to the psychiatric hospital. And the sheriff tells the dad, he's like, well, she was saying that this lady named Mildred Kemp. Like, where do you think she got that? Well, later we see Anna. She's cutting out pictures of Rachel. For some reason, they gave her pictures of Rachel, which seems like a bad idea. But she's just scribbling out pictures of Rachel. And her old therapist walks by and he's like, "Hey, Anna, how you doing?" And she's like, "I did what you told me to." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "I finished what I started." Oh yeah, she killed Matt. She threw him off the whatever. And then we see Miss Creepy from the beginning. Oh, what happens? She goes into her room and what does it say? Mildred Kemp. What was the goddamn point?
Okay, there was one shot that I liked, and that's
Okay.
when like reality dawned on Anna. It
Hmm.
was like, I don't know, it was like breaking glass or something, or like a
Yeah.
bright light or something. I thought that was a cool shot.
Yeah, she walks into like the kitchen and she sees in like the door's reflection because there's also like a spotlight on her. Like she's in a dress covered with blood holding the knife. And yeah, that is a crazy moment. Um, but yeah, this movie,
This movie made me so mad.
it's hot
Um,
garbo. It's hot garbo.
it's yeah. Let's just rate it and move on with our lives because it's just straight up trash. It's a shame because David Strathairn is a good actor.
Hmm.
Elizabeth Banks is a great actor.
I do think Elizabeth Banks kills it in this,
Yeah,
what she has, but it's not a good movie.
it's just. It's like they were setting her up to be the villain so much that you were like, oh God, of course she's the killer. And then, nope, she wasn't the killer, but it was.
And this is what I take umbrage with is like, obviously in the original, we do get this more multifaceted view of Yeonju, who, you know, we see as like, again, not a saint, not a good person, but like not this caricature. Whereas like this whole time I'm like, so was Rachel really like this? Because like she kind of was a witch. Like she kind of was the stepmom from hell. I'm not saying she deserved to get murdered, no, but like she wasn't innocent in this, you know, so and but that's all left up to speculation because we never get to see Rachel as like the real Rachel, you know. It's always from the point of view of Anna. So like I don't know what was real. And yeah, it's just listen, if you've got laundry to do and you're like, I don't know, I want to watch something that I don't really need to pay attention to, put on this movie.
I
That's the only
guess.
use it
I
has.
mean, the house is cool. The like the house where they filmed the movie was cool. You know, I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I just it made me so mad, and I watched it first, and then I watched the original
that's what I did too.
afterward.
I think that's the best thing to do.
So, how would you rate this one?
2 watering cans full of gasoline.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Same.
Yeah, because again, it's not unwatchable, you know?
No, no, it's not. And the acting's fine, and you know it moves right along.
It's 87 minutes.
I'll tell you something that the vision of the boyfriend with the weird back
That was cool.
was pretty scary.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
So yeah, but it's not a good movie.
No, it didn't have to get made.
No. So that's about it, Mac. I think we done did it.
We done did it. Hell yeah, partner.
Join us next time when we do a deep dive on director Kim Ji-woon. Mac is going to review Three Extremes 2 and the Doomsday Book. Mom will discuss The Quiet Family and I Saw the Devil. That's in 2 weeks. But next week, join us for the minisode Quinnisode, where Quinn and I look at The Innocents from 1961 and The Uninvited from 1944. Before we go, WoHos, we want to say thank you so much for supporting us. It means the world of horror to us, truly. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. If you like this podcast, please tell all your friends and leave a good review in the places where people leave reviews. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at worldofhorror96@gmail.com. We love you. Don't go into the basement.